everyone. My name is Sam, and I am the outreach coordinator here at Futures Forward. Then we also have Sam.
Yeah, hi, I'm Sam, and I'm the AYA case manager. I work with all the folks who are on tuition waivers.
Awesome, thanks, Sam. So me and Sam together, we are going to be talking today about the Advancing Futures Bursary, and we'll do a live how to apply by filling out the information needed on your application so that you make sure that everything is filled out that you need so that your application won't get disqualified or anything, and all the information is on there. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So we have a lot of things we're going to talk about today. So what we're actually going to be doing today, if I can get these slides to change. All right, here we go. So we're going to be talking about the Advancing Futures Bursary. We'll first look at some eligibilities to apply and what you need to have in order to apply to this bursary. Also, we're going to go through to where to find the application and how to apply to the Advancing Futures Bursary. So we're going to actually do a live demonstration on how you can find that application, how to download it, who do you email it to, all that jazz, okay? And then we're going to go into the frequently asked questions. So some of these common questions that come up when we are talking about that Advancing Futures Bursary, and any other questions that you guys might have in you can put that in the chat and we will talk about it at the end. And then Sam and I will have our contact info just at the end if ever you have any further questions about this Advancing Futures Bursary. So let's look at some of those eligibility things for this bursary. So am I eligible for this bursary? So in order to apply to the Advancing Futures Bursary, you must be a resident of Manitoba. So you got to be living here in Manitoba, anywhere in Manitoba. You have to be currently or previously in the care of a Manitoba Child and Family Services agency. You also have to be a current student at a recognized post-secondary institution. So meaning you have to be in your program right now in order to apply to this bursary. So if you are currently in high school and attending university or college in the fall, unfortunately, you would not be eligible for the Advancing Futures Bursary. So as long as you began your studies prior to March 31st, 2021, you are eligible for the Advancing Futures Bursary. Also, you have to be a full-time or part-time student, but priority will be given to full-time students. Previous applicants and recipients are eligible to apply to the bursary. So if you applied to the Advancing Futures Bursary last year, you can apply to Advancing Futures Bursary this year. But just to note, apprenticeship technical trainings are not eligible, unfortunately. So if you are earning a certificate, diploma, or an undergraduate degree, you are able to apply. Sam?
Yeah, thanks. And there's just one tiny exception to all of this is if you are going to school outside of the province of Manitoba, we will consider your application only if that program is not offered here in Manitoba. So one example that I've learned about was veterinary school, and they don't offer it here in Manitoba. You have to go to Saskatchewan. So in that case, we would consider somebody who is attending a school outside of Manitoba.
Perfect, thanks, Sam. Okay, so we looked at all of those eligibilities and am I able to actually apply to it, and you checked all those boxes and you're good to go. Now we have to look at what do I need in order to apply. So in order to apply to the Advancing Futures Bursary, you must have completed the Advancing Futures Bursary application, and Sam and I will show you where you can find that. You need to have a copy of the most recent academic transcript, and that can be an official or unofficial transcript. So you can screenshot your transcript and email it to us, but it doesn't have to be an official transcript. You also need to have a cover letter that describes why you chose your post-secondary program and your academic and employment goals, or you can include this in part of the application. It's section 6 of the application. So you can either submit a cover letter that describes why you chose your post-secondary program and your academic and employment goals, or you can fill it out in the application that is section 6 of the application. Also, this is specific to first-time applicants. So if you are a first-time student applying to the Advancing Futures Bursary, you need to provide a letter from your previous CFS agency that is confirming that you are a former ward of the agency. So it is just a letter from CFS stating that you were in care. Sam?
Yeah, and the one exception for that is if you are on a tuition waiver. So if you were on a tuition waiver, we already have confirmation that you were in CFS care here in Manitoba. So that's another exception to that. Or so if you got the bursary in the past, or you're currently on a tuition waiver, you don't need to apply, send a CFS letter.
Yes. So
we also got,
go ahead.
Sorry. We also got a question here from Helen, or Heaven, sorry. Can I submit an unofficial copy of my transcript for now and hand in my final, or can it just be unofficial? Totally fine with unofficial. We recognize that the timing of this bursary coming out doesn't kind of coordinate with the end of this semester. So some people aren't going to get their official transcripts from the winter 2020 semester. So we just want to see, what we're really looking for is, what is your GPA? You're currently a student, so we want to see that you're enrolled in courses in this semester and that you're a full-time or part-time student. So we will be able to count how many courses you're registered for.
Awesome. Thanks, Sam. All right, so we got through all those, and you have all those things, and you have all those documents, and you're ready to apply. All right, so we're going to fill out an application. But before we do that, I want to introduce you to our fake character that will be filling out an application to the Advancing Futures Bursary. So we have here Chandler Bing. He is a 20-year-old Indigenous male on an AYA. He is currently living in a 2-bedroom apartment with another roommate while attending school at the University of Manitoba. For Gary Campus, he is a full-time student completing his 2nd year in the Faculty of Science, and he's majoring in biology. He started his program in September 2019 and plans to finish in April 2023. So Chandler has status off reserve from Barons River First Nation. He was in care with CFS at the age of 5 through Southeast Child and Family Services. His social worker's name is Ross Geller, who has worked with Chandler since the age of 15 years old. Ross told Chandler about this bursary program when he was applying for the tuition waiver program while in high school. Since fall, applicants are not able to apply to the Advancing Futures Bursary during their first term, he waited until his 2nd year to apply. Chandler is currently receiving a tuition waiver and is not working, concentrating on school so that he can finish within the 4 years. So Chandler wants to be a high school biology teacher. After he completes his undergraduate degree, he plans to apply to the educational program with U of M or U of W. Chandler loves working with students and teaching science. So Chandler is single, not recognized as a visible minority, has no disabilities, is born in Canada, and has no dependents. Some of his expenses include his rent. So we have listed some of his expenses, which is rent, internet, cell phone bill, credit card, car insurance, gas, parking, groceries, all that jazz. Through the tuition waiver program SEP supports, Chandler receives $1,000 a month for living allowance, and as an AYA, he receives $1,200 a month. If he receives the Advancing Futures Bursary, he plans to put it towards lowering his credit card bill and saving for a brand new car. So you're like, why do I need to know all this information? And so it's because these are some of the requirements needed when you're filling out the application. Sam?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that when you get and I will answer your question about what an AYA is. to clarify, the amount is you don't, when you're get living supports and AYA, it's not 1,000 plus 1,200. It's kind of together, it's 1,200. So you would get $1,000 from, and some of you who are on tuition waivers, you would know it's called your CDC or your career development counselor will issue you $1,000, and then your social worker will, for AYA, tops you up on the rest. It varies, but it might be an additional $200 to $500 a month. And somebody wanted to know what an AYA is. It was previously called an extension of care. So if you are permanent ward at your 18th birthday, you have an option to extend your care up until the age of 21, where as long as you're career focused, you're working on like getting a job or going to school or working on life skills, it's up for you and your social worker to decide. You can get some living support money up to about $1,200 to $1,500 a month to pay for just the things that we've listed here to help it a little bit easier to transition out of care and into a more interdependent life. And it's very similar to a lot of our, your peers who still live with their parents. They would not have to pay for these things. So this is a way for the government to try to kind of replicate a little bit of what the parental support would look like for those with family privilege. I've got a couple questions here.
Can we save it till the end though?
Yeah, for sure. Sorry.
I just want to get through with that, and then we'll totally have time at the end to look at those questions. So now let's apply to the Advancing Futures Bursary from start. So everyone can still see my screen, right? Yeah? Okay, good.
Yep.
Awesome.
And you all can follow along too. So if you have a computer here in front of you, you can follow Sam along, open up an application and follow along.
Definitely. So we're going to go into our internet browser. I like using Chrome. And we're going to type here Futures Forward. So it just automatically pops up on my thing. I go on the website like every day. So futuresforward.ca is where you will find these applications. So I'm not going to touch anything because there's going to be a pop-up. It says, welcome to Futures Forward. So I'm going to press this X on the top right. And from here, I'm going to go to post-secondary bursaries. So here, you're going to scroll all the way down where it says Advancing Futures Bursary. So we're going to click that. And it has all the information about the Advancing Futures Bursary, when it is due, which is Friday, May 7th at 4:30. That is when the application is due for the Advancing Futures Bursary. So everyone put that in their calendar and have that reminder up because it's coming really fast in less than a month. So we can click on here where it says applications, okay? And what it's going to do, it's going to open up a new link. And here we can view the application, has more information about the Advancing Futures Bursary. If we're scrolling down, it has the whole application. So all these parts where it is highlighted in red, you need to fill out that information, okay? Well, you're pretty much supposed to fill out everything on the application, but like you won't be able to submit your application unless you fill out these red parts. So before we're going to do anything, we're actually going to download this application. And we're going to download it onto your desktop or your documents here. So I'm going to save it into my documents. And I'm going to call it Chandler Bing AFB for Advancing Futures Bursary. And I'm going to save that. Okay. So now from here, I'm actually going to open it up in my documents. Chandler Bing AFB. So you can, as long as you have that Adobe Reader, you're able to put in that information. You can even do this on your phone. If you have downloaded the Adobe Reader app, you can fill in this application on your phone as well. Okay? So if you're going to be on your internet and you're filling it out here, it won't save. You have to download it first in order to fill in the application. It's very similar to the tuition waiver application. So now we're going to go in and put in the information for Chandler Bing. So his name, Chandler Bing. His date of birth is, I don't know what his date of birth is. April 12th, 2001. And he is 20 years old. His social insurance number is 123456789 because he doesn't have one. And his address is 200 1234 Pembina Highway. He lives here in Winnipeg. That's what we learned from his profile there, and his postal code is R2D1X8 or something. His phone number is 204-995-24760. I'm just putting in some random numbers, and his email is chandler.bing123@hotmail.com. So now it asks, how did you hear about the Advancing Futures Bursary? Through his social worker, right? Ross Geller. And he did not receive the tuition waiver and the Advancing Futures Bursary in the past, so we're just gonna leave that up. So now we got this declaration. It is optional, but you're able to fill it in as well. So he does not have any disabilities. He is not a visible minority. He has status off reserve. He is single, and he has no dependents, and he is not an immigrant or a refugee. So we learned that from all of his profile stuff. So now we're asking for some child welfare history. So we need to know the name of the agency you were in. In Chandler's case, it was Southeast Child and Family Services. So this is a part where it is highlighted in red, so it's something that you cannot leave out of your application. And you wouldn't even be able to submit your application if this part is filled in. And he is currently on an agreement with young adults, so we would check that. And the location of his agency, we can go back to our browser because I don't know what the location is. So we'll just look it up here on Google. Southeast CFS. There we go. So you can always just copy and paste what that agency is. And we'll just paste it onto our application. And then his social worker is Ross Geller, but he doesn't have his phone number. Okay, so now we're on the part 3, so educational information. So what school are you attending? So this is also an important part of the application. University of Winnipeg. Oh no, that's wrong. University of Manitoba. And he is studying, he can put the campus location, Fort Garry. He is studying biology in the Faculty of Science. I can't spell today, of Science. And his program is 4 years, because it's going to take him 4 years to complete it. So when did he start the program? So he started his program in September of 2019, and he plans to graduate in April of 2023. That's 4 years. That's how long it's going to take him. And it is a degree program, and he's taking it full time. All right, so here's the part where some people get a little bit stumped, and it can get a little bit tricky because it deals with money, okay? So it's going to be asking you for your income and your expenses. So that's why I had listed here in his profile just all of his expenses a month and what he gets as an income. So from his profile, he's currently not working, but he is receiving a tuition waiver and an AYA. Okay, so from here, okay, so if we're going to go back into our application, it's asking for you to have an estimate of your expenses between September 2020 and May 2021. So you have to have an estimate of how much you spent during this period of time. And so from September 20th to May 2021 is 8 months. So if you have all of your expenses in summed up in a month, then you can times that by 8 because they want to have a summary of how much you spent during those 8 months. So for example, I'm going to get out my trusty calculator because I can't do math. I'm not very good at math. So we're going to have our calculator help us out. So we have rent here first. If we're looking back at his expenses, rent, he pays $600 a month. So we're going to go $600 times 8 months is $4,800. So we're going to put $4,800 right there. Now we're going to move on to property tax and insurance. So he doesn't pay anything for property tax and insurance because he's renting an apartment that includes all his utilities. So now we have utilities, TV, and internet. So he doesn't pay utilities, he doesn't have cable, but he does have internet. So he pays for internet $50 a month. So we're going to do 50 times 8 equals $400. So we're going to put $400 here. So with student loans, he did not receive a tuition waiver for his first year. So he had to actually take out a student loan for his first year, and he got about $10,000 for his first year. Oops, $10,000. Oh, that's $1,000. $10,000 for student loans, but he did receive a tuition waiver for his second year. And since he still is a student, he does not have to pay for his student loans yet because he's currently a student. So he has that $10,000 student loan on him. He also has a credit card that he pays about, $100 a month. So we're going to times $100 times 8, so that's $800. And then he doesn't have any other things, so we're going to skip that part. So now we're going into transportation. So his previous foster family actually gave him an old car for free. Wow, lucky him, right? So he has a car that he can drive around. So he doesn't have any car payments. It's all paid for. But he does have to put in some monthly gas bills and parking. So I know it says monthly gas and parking, but we're going to stick with this 8-month time period, okay? So if we're looking back at this expense, he pays $150 for gas and $50 a month for parking. So that's $200 a month. $200 times 8 is 1,600. Oh God, let me get, not even like simple math. 200 times $1,600.
It's okay, Sam. I'm not any help. I was like, use the calculator.
Hey, so $1,600. And then he also has to pay for his license. So his license, I keep pressing the wrong things, and the car insurance, I'm sorry, is $170 a month. This guy has lots of bills. So $170 a month times 8 is $1,360. So we're going to put $1,360 down here. And and it's a pretty old car, so he has to maintain that car a lot. So he puts in, I guess he doesn't have it. Rent, internet, cell phone, car insurance, gas, parking. I guess he doesn't have an.
I can say mine is about $75 a month if you add up
fair
all
enough.
the things.
So $75 a month times 8, $600 for car payments.
For maintenance.
Oh shoot, that's wrong. See, I even get confused in these kind of things.
That's why we're doing this together.
Right? Like, hopefully this is super helpful. Okay, food and groceries. So in his expense, he pays about, I'm losing it. Okay, here we go. He pays about $200 a month for groceries. So 200 times 8 is 1,600. Childcare, he doesn't have a kid. Clothing, he pays about 150 a month. So trusty calculator here, 150 times 8 months is $1,200. 1,200. He has a prescription that costs him about $20 a month. So 20 times 8 is 160. And miscellaneous is approximately 10% of your monthly costs. So Sam, can you clarify?
The 10%? Yeah, like, you know, things come up, you and your friends, like this is pre-COVID, want to go to the movies, or let's say there's like an amazing concert you want to go to, and, you know, just little things that come up, right? Like $200 for groceries, as if you're just buying groceries, but we all have takeout, right? Like some, you know, I don't know anybody who hasn't had a double-double or whatever. So, you know, these things come up. And so, yeah.
So like, you know, during those 8 months, let's estimate that he's going to spend about $1,000 just on miscellaneous things. Does that sound good, Sam?
Well, I guess 10% of that would be around 2,200.
Oh, right. 10% of that total. So 2,200.
Yeah.
Sounds good. All right. So we have his total expense down here.
I think we missed the cell phone, and there were, I think, one other thing.
You missed the cell phone? I'm sorry. Oh, sorry. That would be other. We're going to put the cell phone in other. So let's see. Cell phone, 60
and
bucks.
Credit card bill. Yeah.
Oh, man. How did I pass these things? Oh, credit card bill. Sorry, that's credit card bill. And credit cards.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah.
But 60 times 8 months equals $480. So $480.
Yeah, there we go.
There we go. So we got this grand total here of about $25,200 to $25,200 for those 8 months that he is in school. That is a lot. So it's kind of a hard number to look at. All right. So now let's look at this income part. So he's not on EI. Because he's not working, so he doesn't have any job earnings. He doesn't have a child tax benefit. He's not on EIA as well. He doesn't have workers' compensation. He doesn't have child support or spousal support. He doesn't have any band funding at all. Manitoba government supports. Would this be his AYA, Sam?
His living supports plus his AYA, and so that would be the 1,200 times 8.
Okay, so $1,200. We're gonna go $1,200 times 8 is about $9,600. So we're going to put that number right here. 9600. Bursaries and scholarships. Let's say he received a couple awards when he applied for school the second year, which added up to about $500. So we have a grand total of $10,000 or $10,100. That makes sense? Everything looks good? Awesome. So we got his expenses during those 8 months that he's in school and his income during those 8 months that he's in school. So a lot of people do have that question. It's like, oh, my program isn't during that September to April time. Even though your school doesn't go or your program isn't within that time limit, just make sure you're adding it up with those 8 months, because that is what is required on this application. So even though you're not in school during that time, still put that amount within the 8 months.
And I just want to note too, because we've had some questions about summer classes. It is a little difficult because there are some folks who do go to school all year round, and this budget doesn't account necessarily for that. But what it does give us is a general sense of what your surpluses and deficits are. And so we can, the committee can make a decision based on that.
Perfect. Thanks, Sam. So now we're going to do some additional information that is required. It asks, should you be a successful recipient? How would you plan to utilize these funds? And I just have some answers already made out for these questions because it would kind of take a long time to have them already or make something up on the spot. So he would put it towards the saving plans and buy a new car because his old car is not very good. And he would put it towards, and with receiving Advancing Futures Bursary would help him put his mind at ease after he graduates because he won't be receiving an AYA. And he won't be receiving a tuition waiver after he graduates. So he'll need to have that savings so that he'd be able to still be able to support himself while he's looking for a job or potentially going back to school, right? And he wants to be participating in future media events about advancing futures, so he's going to check out yes.
He may also use that funds to pay off his student loan that he'd had to take for the last semester too.
Point. Yes, definitely. Also, there's a word restriction to how many words you can put on here. So keep it in that 3 sentences. Doesn't have to be too long. Now part 5 asks, are you eligible for a tuition waiver through the university or college? And you can say he's on a tuition waiver. That's what we learned. Are you aware of the services available through Futures Board? He is, as he utilizes many services. Are you aware of the employment and training services available through the government? He is not, but he would love to hear more information. And is this your first post-secondary program? It is. And if you have received an Advancing Futures Bursary in the past, can we contact you? So he has not. So it's either say yes or no. So if you have not received an Advancing Futures Bursary in the past, just put no. And then we get into the part 6, which is the career plan. Okay, so I know in the beginning it said you can put in a cover letter or you can fill this part out. Unfortunately, you do have to put in all the things that are highlighted in red. I think we're fixing this application in the future. But if you do have a cover letter that has all that information, you can always just pop it into this section as well. And you can also submit that cover letter if you'd like. But it will not submit your application if these parts are not filled in. So that's why I have these handy dandy writings already. It doesn't have to be too long. If you want to stick with about 100 words, that should be a good, or just like a short paragraph, it should be a good amount. You can always type it up here on your Word document, and you can see on the bottom left corner how many words are there. So that one has about 83. So that's what like a short paragraph would look like. So that's the amount. So as long as you have that, a nice short paragraph in these responses, then you are good to go. We are not like, we want to hear more than a couple of sentences, like 1 or 2 sentences. Like we want to hear a little bit more. So if you can fill that out to just a small paragraph, that would be super awesome. So the questions are, why have you chose your post-secondary program in the field of study? What are your career goals and why? Who are some of the individuals that have or are supporting you as you work towards your education? So I have all these 3 filled out. They have 2 optional parts as well. Are there other programs or services that have helped you in the past, or other information you feel will be helpful? Just for time purposes, we're not going to fill this out. Just kind of rushing through. All right, so now we have our part 7, which is the privacy notice and consent form. So here we just have all the consent information from Skills and Employment Partnership and those privacy notices of why you're putting that information here for those applications. So if you can read that on your own time to make sure you fully understand why you are submitting this information. There are 2 pages to this application about the consent form. And at the bottom here, it has you to sign your name. So here, you would put your name, Chandler Bing, and the date, which is April 15th, 2021. Okay. So on this last page here, we have the checklist for before you submit your application. So as you can see, what I saved in my documents, I have my Chandler Bing letter from CFS and my transcript. So I have my transcript ready. I have my letter ready. I have completed all of the required sections in the application, and I've signed the privacy and consent form. So now I am ready to submit. So for me to submit this application, I'm going to press this green button. So we're just going to use the email, that's the default here. Or you can put in an email that you would like to use. Or wait, no. So we'll just do this one, default email application. And we're going to go continue. So now a new email will pop up with your application as an attachment. Along with this application, you're going to add your, CFS letter and your transcript. So you're going to insert those. And then here, I'm just going to just say a nice little message. My name is Chandler Bing, and I have my completed application. And it's going to automatically go to Advancing Futures. So that's Advancing Futures at yesmb.ca, and that's how we will receive your application. Put a nice little message here. I know I'm just kind of rushing a little bit to save on time, but once you have all those required documents, your transcript, your CFS letter, if you are a first-time applicant and your application, then you should be good to go. And then for the subject, just put application to Advancing Futures Bursary. And then you can, check for spelling. And then you can press send. And then that's how you would submit your application. We did that super fast. Please take your time with your application to make sure you have all the information needed in that so that you won't get your application disqualified, just to make sure you have everything on hand. All right, we're gonna go through some frequently asked questions. So maybe we would have it here on that frequently asked question part of the presentation. So first and foremost, where do I find that application? So we just showed you where it is. It's on the Futures Forward website at futuresforward.ca/Advancing Futures Bursary. Okay, so that's where you would find it. Again, due date is May 7th, 2021. Another question is, I am applying for post-secondary for the upcoming school year. Am I eligible? So like we said, unfortunately, only current post-secondary students are eligible for the Advancing Futures Bursary. So students who are applying in the fall who for the first time are not eligible now, but they will be eligible for the next year. What if I'm over 30 years old? So with Advancing Futures Bursary, there is no age cap. So you can be any age as long as you are a current student in any post-secondary or in those post-secondary institutions. Another question is, I am currently receiving a tuition waiver. Am I still eligible? Do I need a letter from CFS confirming eligibility? So students currently accessing funding and sponsorships such as DAN funding, tuition waivers, and other bursaries or scholarships are welcome to apply. So if you are receiving a tuition waiver, you are still able to apply for Advancing Futures Bursary. Tuition waiver students do not need to include a letter confirming eligibility, as you have already confirmed your eligibility through your tuition waiver application. So if you are on a tuition waiver, you do not need to have that letter from CFS confirming you are in care, because we have that information already. I'm a previous Advancing Future recipient. Can I reapply? Yes, you can apply each year that you are a post-secondary student. You do not have to resubmit your CFS letter confirming you are in care. So previous recipients of the Advancing Futures Bursary don't need to give that letter confirming you were in CFS care. Sam, you want to read the rest? Because I'm getting a little tired.
Have a sip of water. So are there any minimum grade requirements to determine eligibility? Technically, no, but we do give, the selection committee does give preference to those who have a GPA that is over 2.0, which is about I think a C- or a C average. Yeah. What if I started my post-secondary program in January or February? So for the 2021 Advancing Futures Bursary, we are accepting all current post-secondary students prior to March 31st, 2021. Does it matter if I was only in care for a short period of time or in care outside of Manitoba? So you have to have lived care experience here in Manitoba, whether that's a temporary ward, permanent, voluntary care agreement. You can apply for the Advancing Futures Bursary. And there are no specifics in terms of the length of time that you had to be in care. But if you were in care outside of Manitoba, let's say you were in care in British Columbia, and then you moved here for whatever reason, you are not eligible for this bursary. Can I submit an unofficial transcript? Absolutely, yes. Unofficial transcripts are accepted. Be sure to include the confirmation of your current enrollment and your current grades from last semester, because we recognize you all are going through finals right now. Your marks aren't going to be posted until either very close to the deadline or afterwards. But again, like I said at the beginning, we want to see what your GPA is. We want to see how many courses you're registered for and that you're a current student at in an institution in Manitoba, post-secondary institution in Manitoba. What if I don't live in Winnipeg? All good, as long as you live in Manitoba, you're eligible for this bursary. One of the requirements, if you are selected for this bursary, is that you have to attend a financial counseling workshop. There's different ones depending on the year. And basically what that is just, you know, can be an overwhelming amount of money that you get, and we want to provide you with some support. And so those workshops are all done virtually, so it doesn't matter where you are in Manitoba. And am I eligible to take a program outside of Manitoba? Like I said earlier, yes, but only if that program is not offered here in Manitoba. So that would be something to include in your application. If you are somebody who's in school outside of Manitoba, you need to tell us how you have searched for that program here and that it's not offered. We will also flag it as that application and look to see if there are programs offered here in Manitoba that you could have taken. Yeah, those are some of the frequently asked questions. You want me to do this one, or you?
Last page, yeah.
Okay. So are there any programs that don't qualify? Yes, but it says here, any full or part-time program that is recognized by Manitoba Student Aid is eligible. Graduate and postgraduate students may be considered. However, preference is obviously given to undergraduate students who are enrolled in certificates, diplomas, or degrees. There's a wonderful link that Sam put here, and you can Google it too, like, and it will tell you whether.
Or no?
Yeah, sure.
Let's do it.
And it will tell you whether your school is designated. One really easy way to know is if your school accepts student loans, then is designated. If it doesn't, then it is not a designated post-secondary school. So you can see here, this is the government of Manitoba, their website. You want to put here that you went to school in Manitoba, what school it is. If your school shows up on this list, you want to click on it, or you will see here, for example, the Access program. the second one, it is not designated. So if you're in that program, you cannot apply for Advancing Futures. So this is one way to check. And also, you know, if you have questions, you can always contact Samurai and we can help you with this. You want to go back to the presentation?
There you go.
Yeah. I'm currently receiving Employment and Income Assistance, EIA. Will this bursary affect my benefits? This bursary should not affect your EIA benefits. If you're attending post-secondary school full-time or part-time, your school provides you with a T2202A at tax time, and you should complete box 105 for your tax returns. For more information, contact our partners at the Community Financial Counseling Services. Just a quick note, if you're trying to do your taxes right now, those are the folks to contact. They'll help you do your taxes. They're also the ones who can help you understand the tax form when it comes to getting that form back. And how should I submit my Advancing Futures application? Well, I think Sam showed us how to do that, but you can also drop it off in person at our Youth Employment Services office downtown in Winnipeg, and the address is here. If you prefer to print it off, not many people I know have printers at home anymore, but you have that option. And also, if you're somebody who likes to write it out and you don't have a printer at home, you can call us and we can print it out. You can come pick it up, or we can print it out and mail it to you if that's also your preference.
Sorry, one more thing. If you
Yeah.
don't have a computer to fill it out and you find it, you wanted someone to assist you in that, you can also make an appointment with myself or Sam, and you can also come into our office and we can assist you in filling out the application as well. So
Yeah.
we can do that as well.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and appointments are you have to make an appointment to come into the office right now with the whole COVID stuff. So there's no drop-in service. I just wanted to note that. And what happens after I submit my Advancing Futures application? Well, your application will be reviewed for completion and eligibility by our selection committee. Any incomplete applications will not be considered. So make sure that you spend some good time reviewing it. If you have a person that you can reach out to and send it to and say like, hey, can you look this over, make sure it makes sense, do that. It's super helpful. I mean, even this presentation, you know, Sam and I went back and forth at least three or four times just to make sure it was good, you know, and so reach out to some people. Yeah, and you could also, you know, we can help you with that as well. And successful applicants will be contacted near the end of May. All successful applicants will be required to review the financial counseling video and the Community Financial Counseling Services somewhere in the summer, likely hope at the end of May, but it could also go into June. But when I read this, I was like, wait, is May the summer? And I think it might be. I can't remember when summer starts. All successful applicants will be required. Oh yeah, I already said that. And Futures Forward will contact you to register for the workshop. Upon completion of that workshop, you will receive your reward or your award in the mail. Or yeah, with COVID.
So now we're in our question portion. So we're gonna go into our chat. Sam, if you want to unmute yourself too, we can read out those different questions that are in the chat box.
Yeah, so we talked about the official transcript. We talked a little bit about AYA and extension of care. If any of you have questions about that, like just shoot them in here. And if you don't know, there's actually been a moratorium on AYA actually since the pandemic started. And so if you're on an AYA, you're entitled to extend that until September of this year. And contact us if you have questions about that. Do you fill out your expenses that you have to put in totals from September to, when you fill out the expenses, do you have to put in the totals from September to May? Yes, and you can make the estimates. We're trying to see deficit and how much need there is. And do I have to put my SEP under Manitoba government support? Yes, that's exactly where it would go. And the question was, is it 8 months or 9 months? Which is a good question because we're not saying whether it was the 1st to the 31st or what, but basically they're looking for the fall semester and the winter semester. So that would be a total of 8 months. Yeah, those are kind of all the questions I got. Any other questions? Okay.
You can always email Samurai at advancingfutures@esmb.ca. Sorry, this is our other contact information. You can also call us or email us at our work emails as well. Sam is spothier@esmb.ca, and her Facebook name is Sam at Futures Forward. It makes it really difficult how both of us, both our names are Sam, and we're both on the Advancing Futures Bursary, and so it makes it easy and difficult at the same time. But yeah, so you can find me at solea@esmb.ca, and my Facebook page is Samantha at Futures Forward. So that's how we differentiate that. But any questions that you do have can go to the Advancing Futures at esmb.ca. That Sam and I actually control that email, so we will both see that message and we will get back to you accordingly. And then you can also go onto the Futures Forward website at futuresforward.ca/Advancing Futures Bursary.
And we just had another question come in, Sam. And due to the late application coming out, how confident is it that the committee will review and have decisions by the end of May? I don't know if you're looking for like a percentage, but you know, I can say the selection committee and the organizing team have come up with a timeline, and we have commitment from people to try to make sure that the decision is by the end of May. You know, we can't, you know, things come up, and we, you know, I don't want to say for sure. But you know, the committee understands that this bursary has come out late, and it has been quite impactful on a lot of young people who were relying on it. So we are trying to expedite it to make sure that folks get that money as quickly as possible, which is partly why the deadline is May 7th, as opposed to like leaving it open for a couple of months, which is what I think has happened in the past. And so, yeah. I can't give you a percentage, but you know, we have a very dedicated team, and we're all thinking about you guys and want the best for you.
All right, excellent. So if anyone has any other questions that we didn't answer today, please email us at advancingfutures@esmb.ca, and we will definitely answer those questions for you. All of our information is on the Futures Forward website at futuresforward.ca/Advancing Futures Bursary. That is where you will find that application, okay? So again, if you have any questions at all after this info session, go see us at Advancing Futures at esmb.ca. This info session will also be recorded, or is recorded, and will be posted on the Futures Forward website. So if ever you wanted to refer back to the video, you can find it at futuresforward.ca, and then that's where all the information will be.